Most traders think mastery is about information, more indicators, better strategies, smarter analysis. But information has never been the limiting factor. The real bottleneck in trading is neurological. Every trader, without exception, travels the same path. Not through markets, through their own brain. 3 distinct phases, 3 different control centers, 3 completely different experiences of the market. Most traders never make it past the second stage. Not because they're stupid, not because they lack discipline, but because they don't realize the goal isn't to think better. It's to move the control of execution to a different part of the brain. Today, you're going to see trading the way elite performers experience it, as a neural progression, from emotional survival to conscious control to automatic execution. This is the neural path of trading mastery. Before we go deeper, you need to understand the framework. In the 1970s, psychologist Daniel Kahneman discovered something fundamental about human cognition. We don't have one mind. We have 2 systems. System 1, fast, automatic, effortless. This is pattern recognition, intuition, instant response. When you see a friend's face and immediately know their name, that's System 1. When you brake before consciously noticing the car ahead, that's System 1. It operates below awareness. It doesn't calculate. It recognizes. System 2, slow, deliberate, effortful. This is logic, analysis, conscious thought. When you calculate 17 times 24 in your head, that's System 2. When you force yourself to review a checklist before entering a trade, that's System 2. It requires focus. It burns energy. It fatigues. Now, here's what Kahneman discovered. System 1 is extremely efficient, but prone to biases. System 2 is accurate, but expensive. Most people assume mastery means using System 2 all the time. Better logic, stronger discipline, more analysis. Wrong. Mastery means training System 1 to execute what System 2 designed. You use System 2 to build the rules. Then you train System 1 to execute them automatically. That's the path. But most traders never make it there because they get stuck in a war between 3 different brain regions. Let's walk through each phase. At the beginning of every trading career, control lives in one place: the amygdala. The amygdala is the oldest part of your brain. It evolved for survival. Its job is simple: detect threat, seek reward, keep you alive. It does not care about probabilities. It does not care about expectancy. It does not care about long-term edge. It only asks 2 questions. Am I safe? Can I win right now? When trading is controlled by the amygdala, the market is experienced as a threat environment. Every loss feels personal. Every win feels like relief. Every open position feels like danger. This trader trades to regulate emotion. Fear creates hesitation. Euphoria creates overtrading. Loss creates revenge behavior. Profit creates attachment. The paradox is brutal. They hesitate when they should act, and act impulsively when they should wait. Same brain, same mechanism. The neuroscience of emotional trading. Here's what's happening physiologically. When you take a trade, your amygdala scans for threat. If the trade moves against you, even slightly, your amygdala interprets this as danger. It triggers a stress response. Cortisol floods your bloodstream. Your heart rate increases. Your prefrontal cortex, the logical part, goes offline. Now you're in survival mode. Logic is unavailable. You're not thinking, "This is within my risk parameters." You're feeling, "I need to escape this pain." So you exit early, or move your stop, or double down. Not because you're undisciplined, because your amygdala hijacked execution before thought even began. This is why explaining risk-reward ratios to a beginner doesn't work. The emotional brain doesn't listen to logic. It only reacts. Example: the revenge trade. Let's say you take a loss, $500. Your amygdala interprets this as a threat to resources. I just lost. I need to recover. Now. So you take the next trade immediately, not because it meets your criteria, because your brain is trying to escape the emotional pain of the loss. The trade fails. Now you're down 1,000. The amygdala escalates. Bigger threat. Need bigger action. You increase size. Take another trade. Lose again. This isn't a discipline problem. It's a neurological hijack. The amygdala doesn't care about your trading plan. It cares about immediate relief. This trader isn't undisciplined. They're overstimulated. Why logic doesn't help. This is why most trading psychology advice fails at this stage. Just follow your plan. Be disciplined. Control your emotions. It's like telling someone having a panic attack to just calm down. Useless. You cannot reason your way out of survival mode. You don't fix the amygdala with willpower. You outgrow it through exposure and desensitization, which leads to phase 2. Eventually, something changes. The trader realizes emotions are costly. Losses aren't just financial, they're psychological. So control shifts upward, from the amygdala to the neocortex, specifically to the prefrontal cortex. This is System 2 trading. The prefrontal cortex takes over. The prefrontal cortex is responsible for logic, planning, impulse control, delayed gratification. This is the part of your brain that can override instinct. It's what allows you to say, "I feel like revenge trading right now, but I'm not going to." System 2 traders operate through conscious control. Every trade is analyzed. Every entry is verified against a checklist. Every impulse is reviewed before acting. This phase looks like maturity. Emotion is contained, mostly. Rules are respected. Impulsivity decreases. Performance improves significantly compared to phase 1. But a new problem appears. Decision fatigue. System 2 is powerful, but it's expensive. Research in cognitive psychology is clear. High-quality conscious decisions require glucose and mental energy. After a few hundred decisions, quality collapses. This is called decision fatigue. Studies show that judges are more likely to deny parole requests late in the day, not because they're cruel, but because their prefrontal cortex is exhausted. Default to no requires less energy than evaluating each case. Same thing happens in trading. The pattern of System 2 breakdown. System 2 traders often have a specific pattern. First hour of trading: disciplined, accurate, calm. Second hour: still good, but starting to feel mental strain. Third hour: mistakes creep in, hesitation increases, or impulsivity returns. Why? Because they're making hundreds of micro decisions. Does this meet criteria? Should I take this? Is this the right size? Should I exit now? What if I'm wrong? Each question burns fuel, and when fuel runs out, control reverts back to the amygdala. That's why they often say, I know what to do, but I hesitate. Or, I'm disciplined early in the session, then everything falls apart. They mistake this for lack of discipline. It's not. It's cognitive depletion. The trap of conscious control. Here's the trap. System 2 traders believe the solution is more discipline, stronger willpower, better focus. So they try harder. They add more rules, more checklists, more analysis. But this makes the problem worse, because now they're making even more decisions. And more decisions equals faster depletion. This is where most traders get stuck forever. They mistake control for mastery. But mastery isn't control. Mastery is automation. Example: the checklist paradox. Let's say you create a 10-point checklist for trade entry. Every trade you review all 10 points. This sounds disciplined. But here's what's really happening. You're making 10 conscious decisions per trade. If you take 5 trades in a session, that's 50 decisions. Plus all the trades you considered but didn't take. Plus all the micro decisions during the trade. By trade 4 or 5, your prefrontal cortex is fatigued. So you start cutting corners. This setup is close enough. I'll skip the checklist this time. Or worse, you freeze entirely. Too tired to decide, so you don't trade at all. Even when your setup appears. This isn't weakness. It's biology. System 2 was never designed for sustained performance. It's designed for occasional override, which leads to the final phase. Elite traders do not trade with willpower. They trade with programs. Control migrates away from conscious choice into the cerebellum and basal ganglia. This is System 1 execution. The procedural brain. The cerebellum and basal ganglia are responsible for procedural memory. This is where skills become automatic. Riding a bike, typing without looking at keys, playing a musical instrument. Actions that were once conscious become unconscious. When a pianist plays a complex piece, they're not thinking about each note. The program runs automatically. Same with elite traders. They don't analyze, they recognize. In this phase, execution is effortless. Pattern appears, action follows. Not faster thinking, no thinking. The decision was already made, weeks, months, or years earlier, during rule design and training. In live conditions, there is nothing left to decide. The characteristics of System 1 trading. Mental fatigue. Minimal. System 1 doesn't burn cognitive fuel the way System 2 does. You can execute for hours without depletion. Consistency. High. Because there's no decision-making, there's no variance. The same pattern triggers the same response, every time. Execution speed. Instant. No hesitation. No second guessing. Pattern, action. Emotional noise. Low. The amygdala still exists, but it's not in control. You might feel fear or excitement, but it doesn't change your behavior. Error rate. Low. Not because you're smarter, because you're not deciding under pressure. Example, the automatic entry. Let's say you've trained a specific pullback setup for 2 years. You've taken it hundreds of times. You've reviewed it, refined it, executed it until it became reflex. Now, when that setup appears, you don't think. You see the pattern. Your hand moves to execute. No checklist. No internal debate. No, should I? It just happens. This isn't recklessness. It's mastery. The conscious work was done during training. Now, execution is automatic. The paradox of System 1. Here's the paradox. To an outside observer, System 1 execution looks effortless. But getting there requires enormous effort. Thousands of repetitions, controlled conditions, relentless consistency, boring, repetitive training. This is why shortcuts fail. You can't hack your way into System 1. You can't mindset your way there. You train your way there. Through exposure, through repetition, through desensitization. And once execution lives in System 1, something profound happens. Trading stops feeling heavy. You're no longer fighting yourself. The market becomes quieter, not because it changed, but because your brain did. Most traders try to jump directly from phase 2 to profits. They skip the migration. They assume discipline should override fatigue. It can't. System 2 is not designed for sustained performance. It's designed for learning and override. But performance at scale requires automation. And automation requires repetition beyond boredom. Here's what that actually looks like. Same setup, same rules, same execution, hundreds of times. Not with full size. With size small enough that emotional noise is minimal. You're not training to make money. You're training your basal ganglia to recognize and execute. Most traders never do this. Because it's boring. Because it feels like you're not progressing. Because there's no dopamine hit. But this is where mastery lives. In the repetition that most people quit before completing. The migration process. Here's how the migration happens. Phase 1. Amygdala. Trade to regulate emotion. Survival mode. Phase 2. System 2. Trade with conscious control. Effortful execution. Transition. Reduce position size. Increase repetition. Same setup, hundreds of times. Phase 3. System 1. Trade with automatic execution. Effortless consistency. Most traders quit during the transition because it requires patience. And the market rewards everyone else except patient beginners. So they increase size too early, which reactivates the amygdala. And they fall back to phase 1. The cycle repeats. Forever. Trading mastery is not intellectual. It is neurological. You don't conquer fear. You outgrow it. You don't perfect analysis. You transcend it. You don't think your way to consistency. You automate it. Every trader starts emotional. Many become logical. Very few become automatic. Not because it's impossible, but because most people never realize where mastery actually lives. If your execution still feels heavy, you're not broken. You're simply operating from the wrong brain. And now you know the path forward. Not through more discipline, through migration. From the amygdala to the prefrontal cortex to the basal ganglia. That's the only path. And it's walked through repetition, not inspiration.